Our sponsor this month is Published, an affiliate of Village Voices. Published offers all author services from writing tips, critiques, manuscript evaluations, and editing, as well as tips to help you become published. If you prefer to self-publish, purchase the step-by-step book on publishing through Amazon, or purchase services a la carte, from formatting to creating custom covers, or even tips to gather endorsements. The staff is headed by 2 professional writers. After your books are published, either trade paper, electronically, or both, purchase marketing tips, web services, book trailers, or turn your book into an audiobook. Publish provides all your writing, publishing, and marketing needs. So give them a call at 941-748-6865. Contact them online at dgould497@aol.com, or go to the website at www.publishedavillagevoices.webs.com. Welcome to Culture Coast. The intro you just heard was by Al Musitano. And today we are interviewing musician Michael Miller, and he also has some other artistic endeavors going on. Hi Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
So, are there any people in your family who are musicians?
There are. When I was young, I had an uncle who played guitar, and I wasn't very fascinated with it, although I was really into music as a kid. I remember my uncle playing music, although he didn't do it professionally. It was a hobby for him. I didn't get interested until I was a teenager, and I had an older sister who got a guitar for Christmas, and I was enthralled with it, and she never quite picked it up, and I was always bugging her to borrow it and learn it, and I learned a few chords. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan, and it made it easy to learn a lot of the songs. He has 2 or 3 chord songs, and 11 or 12 verses. And so I really started learning the major chords, and eventually that guitar just became mine.
Did you have lessons from anybody other than your sister showing you a few chords? And did she have lessons?
No, we never had lessons. We had the little Mel Bay books that told us where to put our fingers for the G chord and the A minor.
Hard to get interested though in I had a really hard time with those types of teaching methods. Nowadays with the YouTube, you can watch somebody teach you.
Oh, absolutely. I was a very visual learner at that too. In fact, I was an audible learner. I was listening to so much music at the time that I acquired this guitar that I was thirsty to learn the music. To me, it wasn't about learning how to play the guitar. That just sort of came automatically as I was so thirsty to learn these songs. And like I said, the Dylan songs were kind of easy, and I was also going through a punk phase at the time and listening to like Ramones and Black Flag and such bands. And those songs were real easy power chords to write, about 2 or 3. So I had, I thought I had my act together after I had those 3 or 4 chords down.
And all the girls loved it.
Oh yeah, they love it. If you play more than 2 chords, you're showing off. But yeah, eventually I acquired the knowledge of the guitar just through osmosis, just from playing so much and seeing so many shows as a young.
Now, when you say seeing so many shows, you went and saw a lot of concerts?
Yeah, I was very fortunate in that me and my sister received hand-me-down records from our parents instead of children's records. So we grew up, when we were infants, we grew up with all the Beatles albums, and Elvis, and the Stones, and Steely Dan, Mamas and the Papas, everything.
And yet you told me you grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Why wasn't it all country and...
There's definitely the country there. I actually grew up with my grandmother for a lot of years, and I got the vintage country from her. She loved Porter Wagner, Tammy Wynette, Don Williams and Willie Nelson.
So you have that too, but that's not the direction you took.
It wasn't my direction. I loved the rock and roll. I loved the pop rock, the Mamas and the Papas and the Byrds and the Beatles. I love
What
that
about all
stuff.
the folk rock that was out back then, where they had songs that were tales?
I got into that when I was about 12 or 13, and I started purchasing my own music and started getting my own taste instead of what was given to me as toys. And when I started buying my own records, that's when I kind of discovered the folk music. I don't know why I didn't get it. I didn't really get it through Bob Dylan like I should have. It was after my punk phase. My sister got into the Doors and some of the 60s psychedelic music. And that's kind of when I left the punk phase and went into my hippie phase. And it was during my hippie phase that I found out that all of that psychedelic music that I liked, that those folks' roots were in the folk music.
Yeah.
Like the Grateful Dead goes back to folk and blues. And
They just had their 50th anniversary.
everyone-
Can you believe it?
right, it's
Oh
like
my gosh.
all of my favorites, I eventually found out who their top tens were.
Right.
And then go back there. Now I'm listening to Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin. And you find out Aretha Franklin's top 10, and you go back to Muddy Waters. And everybody
It
has
all
a top
blends
10.
together.
And it's all
It all blends together. So when you finished school, what did you do with your life?
where it's just a stone's throw to Cincinnati, Ohio, or Nashville, Tennessee, or Atlanta, Georgia. It's the hub of this giant wheel where bands tend to congregate. And my folks were not phobic of me and my sister going to shows as young kids. We saw Kiss, and we saw Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. We saw all the 80s stuff, Huey Lewis and Loverboy.
Okay.
And when I got into my own music, I started wanting to see Elton John and Bob Dylan and
But how
and
do
the
you
big
hook up with
bands.
the Grateful Dead and travel with them?
Well, I saw my first show in '85. I was about 15, and I absolutely loved it. And I didn't know that the fans traveled with the band from show to show.
The
And I
Deadheads.
wanted to do that so bad. I didn't realize this when I was 15. I'm still in high school. When I was a junior and senior in high school, I started noticing other high school students who were doing this every summer or during spring break. They would go down to Atlanta and see the Dead. And I realized, this happens in a cycle. They actually do a tour, then they do this tour, then they do this city every year. And by the end of the 80s, I kind of found out about the tours, and I started going to Atlanta and Charlotte and Raleigh. And
So you became a Deadhead.
I became a big, big Deadhead. And because I was playing so much music, I absorbed a lot of that music. And so I began playing Grateful Dead music in cover bands, and I had there was no shortage of other people who wanted to play music, and that music really lends itself to a lot of people, because the music is real palatable for all musicians. Even if you're not a big Deadhead, the music is quite fun to play. It's really
Not super complicated,
it's
but it's just...
some of it is. I mean, you can go down the rabbit holes once you. They play a lot of bluesy and folk music, but they play a lot of jazzy and experimental rock as well.
Good.
So you can pretty much, they have waterfalls of music. So
Great.
You can pretty much pick your level.
So what were you doing to
learning.
make money while you're following them around?
Oh gosh, I had so many retail jobs in my 20s. I've worked at Cat's Music, which is a CD shop owned by Music City Record Distributors out of Nashville. So for about 8 or 10 years, I worked in the CD shops, sold concert tickets in Knoxville to all of the theaters.
So
And
pretty much you stuck to retail that was associated with music?
yeah, I've been associated with music pretty much all my life.
It got you when you were young and it never let you go.
Yeah, when I was at the end of my 20s, I acquired a really nice camera, and I had never had a really super nice camera before. And I got a photography bug, and so I went back to college and took some photography courses and moved to Pensacola, Florida, and started a photography business. Ironically, there's no music in Pensacola whatsoever.
Lots of airplanes.
They don't believe in music there because they don't want you to dance.
It's part of the Bible Belt, yes.
It's really a big part of the Bible Belt. So there was nowhere for me there was not an outlet there. So my photography bloomed until I moved down here to this area. And of course...
You came here from Pensacola? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's such a huge artistic community down here as well.
Culture coast. Oh,
But down here, I think it's large canvas and sculpture are really popular right now. And my photography dried up, at least the types of photography that I was doing. I didn't want to be a wedding photographer.
You were
down
an
here.
artistic...
And I'm doing abstract and portraiture and not really trying to make a living. To me, it was just an expensive hobby at the time. And then I realized I could do portraiture and make a little money off of it. And
The
of course,
music came back.
now the music came back. And
Huge area for music.
The good thing I like about this area is that Bradenton, Sarasota, these towns are rather small, but they're huge with talent. The artists here, not just music, but other artists, there's not enough venues for the amount of artists and talent that there is. And so I think it creates this competitive, do-it-yourself, word-of-mouth attitude that the artists have down here that really works in this area in Southwest Florida. And maybe it wouldn't quite work back in Tennessee where I'm from, but down here I feel like everyone, you almost have to be a self-proclaimed artist, and you have to be the artist that you are,
and constantly promote.
Yeah, this is not a place where you're going to get discovered unless you go out and say, here's what I do.
Look at me.
Look at me. I mean, that really works in here in this area quite well. The networking is easy in the small towns like Bradenton.
And it's not really competitive, even though there's so many, because everybody's so different that they're encompassing and embracing the differences.
Sure. Yeah, there's a niche for everyone, and there's a place. You just have to really search it out because it's not going to fall in your lap.
You have to find your market because it's a very diverse market as well.
I've been playing in St. Petersburg a lot this past couple of years.
They're also they're only 20 minutes across the bridge from Bradenton.
Sure, you can drive 20 or 30 minutes in either direction around here, and there's another market. I've recently started playing in Largo and Clearwater and St. Pete, but
and a lot of those groups up there come down here to play too.
That it is. There's a lot going on around here.
So where do you play out right now? As Michael Miller, because I know you have a band too that you're part of, but as Michael Miller, where do you play out most often?
I have a couple of favorite places in Sarasota. There's the Tea House on Fruitville Road.
I know that Tea House, yes.
Great little tea house, and I play there maybe once a month or every couple of months just to have a presence. I have a weekly Wednesday night gig at Painter's Palette, which is on 41 down in Sarasota near the airport. Great little Asian fusion Thai food place.
Nice.
I play there every Wednesday night. But lately, though, I found that I've had 110% success up in St. Petersburg. So I've been playing the Ale and the Witch and the Hideaway. Once in a while I go up to Largo to play the Barley Mow. So I have pretty much regular places to play, and the festivals are a big part of my life right now. I've been playing Chalk Festival. I recently played Art Slam last
Right, that's
week.
where I met you, was at the Chalk Festival.
And so I love doing the festival circuit.
The Jordae's Creation Carnival, you were there.
Yes.
At the EcoFest. Yes, you were at EcoFest as well.
So those are a lot of fun, and I do those with the band as well.
And that's Heart Machine.
That's the Heart Machine, and
they're
Michael
a band
Miller.
that's the band that you also work with. Tell us a little bit about them and when you joined them, or did they join you?
Well, I've had a few originals floating around with me for all of these years that I've been playing, and I know hundreds and hundreds of covers. And it wasn't until about 2006 or 2007 when I was down in Venice, Osprey, I decided to put all of my originals together to see how many I had. And when I did that, I realized that I'd always interspersed my originals in with a bunch of covers, and it wasn't until I strung them together that I realized my body of work, and it started to sound like Michael Miller music. And I thought I should get a band together and focus only on original music instead of covers. I was watching an old movie. What's the name of it? Metropolis. It's an old Fritz Lang movie from 1927, an old black and white silent film. One of the first science fiction movies. There's a place in the movie called The Heart Machine. And as soon as I saw it in the subtitles, I knew that was the name for the band. I had mostly love songs, not quite love songs, post-love songs.
Breakup songs.
And would have been, how it could have been love songs. So the Heart Machine tied in with that as well. And I'm a graphic designer, and I use the heart and the heart art in a lot of my projects. And
now, how did you become we're going off subject here, but how did you become a graphic designer in all of that? Did that happen at college?
No, that didn't actually. I've always been artsy all of my life, but it wasn't until the computers came along, and I was really just thirsty to have a laptop. And so how along the way, I guess it was probably an after experience of my photography. My photography was improving, and I didn't have that editing software. And when Photoshop came along, it was by the time I got a computer, everybody already had one. But by the time I got mine, Photoshop was already at the top of its game and had pretty much eliminated the competition.
They have. So let's talk back again about Heart Machine. Who is in Heart Machine with you? What pieces do you have playing with you? Your drummer?
Drummer is Eric Scott. Of course, they've changed over the years, as bands do.
They come, they go.
But I've got a great drummer, Eric Scott. Just acquired Mark Zampella on lead guitar, so he's a new member of the band.
So you play rhythm?
I play rhythm guitar, yes.
Okay.
I play what I call lead rhythm, which is, I do some finger work, but I don't solo. I felt like the band really needed that to take it up to the next level, so we just got Zampella on lead. We just acquired a new bass player. Paul Lewis is going to be our new bass player. Raphael Aquino on keyboards. He used to play with The Human Condition.
So you have a keyboard, two guitars and a bass.
Yes.
I always mess that
No,
up.
it's still a guitar.
It's a guitar! I don't get that.
Yes.
How is it not a guitar?
Yes,
But
they
it's
would
not
defend
a
themselves
bass.
in that manner as well.
Yes.
They're guitarists.
You're just the bass player.
But so we've been mostly a three-piece since 2010 when we started. But now we're a five-piece. I'm really glad about that. It hasn't sunk in yet because this has just happened since EcoFest.
It makes it sound like a real band.
Oh yeah, it does. It was really going to be difficult to do the album with just the three-piece. But while we were recording, which we did up in St. Petersburg with Stephen Conley producing, that's how we acquired Raphael for a couple of days in a session. Ricky Wilcox and Janie Kelly admired a couple of the songs we were working on, so I invited them to come in and do backup singing. The producer really enjoyed the music and decided to play lead. So we got him a lead guitar, lap steel, and pedal steel, and
it sounded like a lot of fun.
Yes, the album kept getting bigger and bigger. So because we thought it was just going to be the three of us, every single thing about the album exceeded our expectations.
So have you already? Is the album out?
It's out, and I'll leave you a copy here before I leave. Yeah, we're very, very happy with the album. It came out last April, so it's almost a year old now.
And do you have another one in the works? And are these all original music?
Yeah, it's all original music.
All original music.
I'm really proud of it. I felt like everyone involved did such a great job. I had no idea that I would be
it could
surrounded.
sound like that?
I didn't think I would be surrounded by that much greatness. I really didn't. I thought they were going to be.
Now, what was the name of this production studio that you?
It's a Zen Recording Studios. It's in St. Petersburg, or in Pinellas Park. And Stephen Conley is the producer and owner. He was the engineer and producer and everything.
So Zen Productions.
Yeah, I mean he was
probably somebody else I should be interviewing along.
Oh, absolutely. Stephen Conley is, in my opinion, he's the go-to guy in St. Petersburg.
Now, what kind of guitar do you play?
I play. I have an Epiphone electric, and I've got a nice Taylor acoustic that I've been playing for a few years now.
Did the Taylor cost you more than the Epiphone?
Yes.
I just thought so. Taylors are up there.
You know, those little electric guitars are a dime a dozen. It's really, like when I shop around more for acoustics than electrics. I love all the electric guitars I play, and I love all of the tones they produce. So I could have a Strat, a Tele. There's so many electric guitars I would have.
But when it came to acoustics,
when it came to acoustics, I don't know what it was.
No, they're very, very popular as far as the sound.
Yeah, and the electronics and everything, and with the PA I was using, it just sounded very clean, and it's a really nice guitar. I've been playing a Takamine, which was nice, and yeah, I have friends that have Martins. I sort of have Martin envy right now. I have a couple of friends that have them, and they're really sweet guitars. But I'm pretty happy with my Taylor, so I've not been shopping to upgrade.
Right.
I'm pretty satisfied.
But what happens if it breaks a string? Do you have a backup on stage?
I can change strings pretty fast.
Okay.
Couple of minutes.
Tune it all again.
Plus I'm a silver tongue on stage, and so I can banter while I change a string.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't suffer from stage fright, so it would just give me a chance to launch into a comedy bit if I break a string.
Yeah, a lot of musicians actually do have stage fright. A lot of them.
They do. I see that a lot. I guess I'm not afraid of my audience because I need them there. I need them there so I can feed off of that energy. Otherwise, I won't play very well. Once in a while, I play to an.
So if it's an empty house,
if
you're
not
doing as good.
Yeah, if I play to an empty house, I'm much more stiff and awkward. Not that I'm, it's not stage fright, but it's almost like I don't have that incentive
They're not
to be
giving
on my
They're
game.
not giving you the love.
Yeah.
You're not getting.
I don't want to act like I'm in a video if there's only 5 people out in the audience. But yeah, and then the opposite happens. I'll be playing to 100 people, and nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
They support you. You're supported that way.
Now, so Heart has been a changing group. Who wrote all the music? Did you write all of it, or did some of it come from some other members along the way?
No, it's all mine.
It's all
pretty
yours.
much. Yeah, the band is pretty much an electric band version of the songs that I write.
Now, if someone came along and had a song, and how does that work? I guess I'm not really sure. If
I don't
one
either.
of your bandmates came along and he has a song, it becomes part of the Heart machine. How does that go and if he leaves the band?
Yeah.
Is it his or is it the Heart Machine, which is yours?
I don't think I would want to perform those songs.
Because
if
I
a band
know
member
big
left.
bands, big bands do
Sure.
that. I mean, there'll be this group, and everybody knows that's the group that made that song. If that person that actually created it leaves the group, I'm just wondering where it
That
goes.
shortens the set list, doesn't it?
It's like, wow, you don't want to stop playing it because that's what everybody knows you for.
You know, I was a huge Pink Floyd fan, and when Roger Waters left Pink Floyd, there was that issue of, are they going to tour and perform Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall without me, the guy that wrote it, the guy that sings most of it?
That's what I'm saying. How does that work in the business?
You know, I'm not a collaborator, really. I want to try it.
Unusual.
It's funny that you mentioned that, though, because it's at a time when my new players were in a previous band. I was thinking, hey, maybe we should do this one song that you guys used to do, and maybe the Heart Machine could perform that.
I was just watching another musician recently, Ben Hammond, and he plays friends of his. He writes all of his own stuff, but sometimes he plays stuff that other people have written and played, and friends of his, and when he's performing. So it's like, okay, that gets a little touchy.
I'm sure it does.
And you can't record it because it's not yours.
And there are a lot of bands like there's Lennon McCartney and Jagger Richards. The Beatles had a unique situation in that a lot of people are like, well, who wrote it? Was it Lennon or McCartney? Well, if you listen to the albums, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 times. If Paul is singing it, it's pretty much his song. If John's singing it, it's pretty much his song. But they would sit together and hash out the lines, and let's use this line. If this line doesn't fit, you should,
yeah, that would really cause a problem when you split.
When you split up, I wonder.
Bad divorce.
Gosh.
Bad divorce.
I mean, that's why I like having
it being all yours.
Having it being all my material.
Yeah.
I'm not closed-minded to collaborating, though. But there's probably royalty issues and things like that involved too. I wonder.
Now, you also have said that you do acrylic art. You're also an artist, painter.
Yes, I started doing beach therapy a few years back, taking just whatever supplies I had handy out to the beach and would meditate and come back with these cute little abstract crafts that I made out at the beach.
Lots of sand in them?
They got sandy, and I eventually moved the beach therapy moved indoors. Because you're right, you can't work. You can't work on the beach.
Paint and sand together mixing
it's
well.
Awful.
The wind whips up, and all of a sudden it's like a textured painting.
At some point, I'm living downtown Sarasota, and I got this job at a nice high-end art gallery downtown, state-of-the-arts gallery. They enjoyed the acrylic abstracts that I was working on in my spare time, and ended up selling them through the gallery. And so I was with them for about 6 years.
That's nice. Nice side job.
It was a great side job, and it enabled me to learn a lot about not just art, but the art business in town and the art industry.
And that's huge down.
And so I spent 6 years doing that, framing artwork and doing installations and networking. And it got to where I realized I could do this. Now that I'm not at the gallery, I don't have that visibility.
But you have visibility online.
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little
bit.
bit.
The music took off so much is why I kind of have left that for now. So I'm kind of just waiting for the next opportunity.
So you're an artist, a photographer, and a musician, and somehow they've all blended together to create you're living your passion.
Somehow I'm paying the bills with the music.
Very, very good.
I still haven't figured that out yet.
If somebody wants to find you to book you or to find out more about your artwork or your photography, you suggest they go to Facebook?
Yes, just because I don't have the website yet. I'm not web savvy. Although I'm computer savvy, I don't have a website yet, and I'm waiting to maybe.
Who has time for that when you're doing all these other things?
I want to encompass maybe an all-inclusive website. Is why I'm really hesitant to do that. I don't want to just do music website.
Right.
But for now, I think fans and friends should go to probably Facebook and find my band, The Heart Machine. And as soon as you find The Heart Machine, you're going to see links to Michael Miller's music.
Now, is it The Heart Machine or just Heart Machine?
Just The Heart Machine.
So they use the V in there.
Sure.
Okay, so if they go to The Heart Machine, and while they're in the Heart Machine, they'll see links to your other stuff, your artwork and everything under Michael Miller.
Sure. Otherwise, you'll sift through 1,000 Michael Millers, I'm sure.
I'm sure there's many
Michael
Millers.
A dozen, but
that's two very common names. So
but the Heart Machine is out of Sarasota, and it's really doing quite well now. The album has been doing well for the past year.
Where do they buy the album?
You can buy it at CD Baby, iTunes, Spotify, all those places. If you want a physical copy, you can get it at our shows and also my solo shows.
Now, you sell those at festivals?
I sure do, and at all my shows, actually.
So even when you're just at a place doing a solo, you have your CDs there.
I'll have
for
a
the
heart
machine.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I'm going to be recording a solo album up in Riverview, probably this spring, this summer.
The same producer?
No, there's another studio that approached me. They're a new studio. It's a Studio G out of Riverview, and they would like to get me in there.
And they're giving you a less expensive option
Well,
because
I'm probably going to try to work with them with my photography and maybe do some bartering and maybe get some sessions going.
Sure, because it's not that cheap.
They want to work with me and I want to work with them, so the details will work themselves out,
right.
I think, because there's a mutual interest there.
It definitely makes sense. All right, so we're going to hear a 3-minute or so tune of yours at the end of this show, and
Sure.
I appreciate you being on Culture Coast.
Well, I really appreciate you having me out. I'll come back sometime and give you a progress report. And I really love the area up here, so I'm sure we'll meet again.
I'm sure we will. Thanks for being on Culture Coast.
Thanks so much. Myself, I know I caught it on the heel. I was almost the hero, waiting there outside your window. Call it what you want, my dear. Sell it to me twice, shout it 10 times in my ear. Apologize until I hear it's all the same to me. It's almost make-believe, and anybody knows which way the wind blows. Making bright lights shine, rumors on the fly. Sometimes I wish they were mine. I was high, but you were divine. Or was it just a falling star? Corner of my eye, what seems near may be too far. For what you want, just who you are. It's all the same to me. It's almost make-believe, and anybody knows which way the wind blows. It's all the same to me. It's almost make-believe, and anybody knows which way the wind blows.
Nightmares. Frightful visions during the night, causing terror and loss of sleep. Daymares. Frightful visions during the day, causing fear and paranoia. Gothmares. Gothic visions that can happen anytime, causing horror and disgust. But sometimes they offer answers. Read Gothmares if you dare. Gothmares, a young adult novel by Al Musitano, available on Amazon and fine bookstores everywhere.
Village of the Arts, the largest artist colony in the state of Florida, located on 42 acres, includes artists, homes, galleries, gardens, and restaurants featuring handcrafted gifts, fine art sculptures, painting, photography, EnviroArt, Healing Arts, Books, Mystics, and Musical Variety. A few of the galleries are unique in their offerings. Village Voices specializes in books and art created exclusively by Florida residents. The Dancing Crane Gallery offers fine art, custom jewelry, and unique, innovative art. The Village Mystic offers all things metaphysical: meditation, massage, mediums, aromatherapy, psychics, shamans, Reiki healing, and the gem mine where you can mine for your own personal treasure. Yoga Arts offers classes or one-on-one coaching. Musicians and bands can be found throughout the area. Many of the artists and musicians offer classes. Restaurants and bakeries provide respite for the weary and magic for the foodies. Visit during the first Friday Art Walk and stroll through the shops and galleries enjoying free appetizers, wine, music, and demonstrations. For hours and information, please visit the website at www.villageofthearts.com.